Were there instances where shit got kind of hairy?
Oh yeah.
And like, I mean, were your parents or any of the other missionaries there? I mean, were they getting attacked or like, how did that shake out?
There were some really close calls, a lot, especially in the early stages of making contact with these tribes, because they had never seen a big, tall, white person before. To them, like, they actually thought that the missionaries were evil spirits. And my dad was telling me one time they went into a tribe, and I was too young to go on these trips with them. But him and his two coworkers went into a tribe, and all the women and children ran into the village and just stayed, or ran into the jungle out of the village and just stayed there the whole time they were in the village. And so, to kind of show the tribal people, hey, we have some similarities here. The next trip in, they brought my older brother and my mom and one of the other wives, one or two of the other wives, and I think one or two kids with them, just to show them, like, we have families and everything too.
Yeah.
And which is crazy because just expose, I think my dad was like 20, he was probably 27 or so, my mom was 26 or so like that. But, this American lady hiking through the jungle. Yeah. She's tough as nails, but she's the sweetest lady you'd ever meet in your life,
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was crazy. But like I said, I took it for granted because that's what I knew. Yeah. And I really did. I a lot of times wished when I was there, wished I was here in the States, because, especially up in Idaho, you have guns and dirt bikes and play sports and all that
cereal
stuff.
And cartoons and shit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious, like, what's the initial approach? Did it vary from tribe to tribe? Or, I mean, because, like, what's the first thing that a missionary is going to communicate to a tribe of why you're there and why they should let you stay and not attack you? Like, how do you even start that conversation?
Well, there's ways to do it right and ways to do it wrong. The most, probably the easiest way to do it is to come in and say, hey, like, we can give you medicine, we can help you with, or even like giving them stuff. The missionaries found out you never want to just give anything to a tribal person, because then it becomes a welfare kind of relationship. You always, like, if they wanted like a T-shirt or something, you'd say, okay, I'll trade you this for something, even if it's like a button or something, because you never want to develop that paternal kind of attitude with. And some missionaries have in the past. I don't think it happened in Indonesia, but we'd hear about other stuff, and missionaries in Venezuela, or Brazil, or Paraguay, or Erie, and some mistakes were made in that, where when the missionary left finally after 25 years, whatever, retired, went back to the States, the whole village just kind of fell apart because they were depending on this, missionary to provide everything. And by then, you built an airstrip outside the tribe and everything, so which was great because you could fly. You had medevacs and stuff like that. We had a Cessna 185 in Borneo and a little Super Cub in Sulawesi that they used to do resupplies. But if someone got hacked up by or bitten by a snake or something and they needed to go to the hospital, missionary could get the plane in there and fly them out to to treat them. And just stuff like aspirin, they don't have shit like that,
I imagine the life flight though would almost scare them. Like, what are these fucking aliens are flying around? Like, what the fuck is this thing? A plane? It's gonna take us up into the sky and we disappear? Like, is that how they respond to it? Or?
Well, you kind of have to gradually expose them to things like that. And I know a lot of people out there would say, well, that's kind of disrupting their culture, and it kind of is. But you try living out in the fucking jungle with like nothing, absolutely nothing, and everything in the jungle is trying to kill you. And it's camping's great for a few days or a week or whatever if you got. But literally, these guys had no, they only had weapons and stuff that at first that they could build out of the like bamboo and stuff. They used bamboo for pig traps and stuff. It'd sharpen it up, but then they got exposed to metals and they could make some amazing machetes and spears, and
Yeah.
they made pretty awesome blowguns too.
Yeah.
And they were deadly accurate with those things.
Yeah, it reminds me, we were in the Philippines for about 6 weeks, 2 months, somewhere in there, and doing a bunch of cross training with the Filipino SEALs, and we did a 1 week jungle survival, the jest, jungle survival training, and so we're rocking hammocks and poncho liners, A-framed over the hammock and hanging your ruck on whatever tree it's connected to, throwing a mosquito net up and whatever, and hanging your boots in the tree, and carrying around rice and then killing shit and eating it and making bamboo shoot stew with eel or frog meat or something in it. And it was really cool for a week, but kind of the same thing though. Like as we're wrapping the training up, it's like, all right, we're going back to the barracks. What are you guys doing? It's like, oh, this is how we live most of the time, and it's like they're making, they're taking bamboo shoots and like I don't even know what I mean. It's a natural plant-made twine material that they just carved out of a tree and wrapping bamboo spikes on it and using that to spear eels and shit and making soup and cooking rice out of big chambered bamboo shoots and over a fire. And it's just like, holy shit, these guys are resourceful. I mean, I remember one time we did a shooting range and we had those really heavy-duty plastic silhouette targets. Mm-hmm. So we, ran the range, did that, whatever, and then we started cleaning up. And they're like, no, we'll clean everything up. We got it, Very next morning, we're doing over the beach, going in and out of the surf zone training, and like a bunch of them had taken these silhouettes and cut them in the shape of fins. Took the fucking riggers tape that we had that were taping the targets, to the structure to post it up. And so they took riggers tape and rolled it over on itself, like cord basically, and then wrapped that on their feet like a Tiva sandal, and they made fins out of our garbage.
Wow, yeah.
Overnight, and for them they felt like they hit the fucking lottery, and it was just like, holy shit, I appreciate being a fucking American citizen. Like shit that we wouldn't even think twice about just throwing away or burning, they're making operational equipment out of. And there was a bunch of other examples of them doing stuff like that. But it was like some months or some periods of the year they wouldn't get paid for 3 or 4 months, wouldn't have a place to live. The barracks would be, not serviceable or not livable or, whatever. And the amount of respect I immediately gained for those guys, and operationally they were pretty savvy too, but just living arrangement wise, like, man, those guys had it fucking rough. But
I worked with the Thai recon guys.
Never bitched about it.
Yep.
I mean, always smiling, good attitude. We're bitching about our plane being late, or whatever, and it's just like, man, these guys are on a whole nother level of resourceful. It reminded me, not to make a negative connotation, but of like the ingenuity you see in prisons. Mm-hmm. It's like the shit that people can make when they have nothing and all they have is time, and like the things that human beings can figure out in those kind of dire circumstances is remarkable.